So long and thanks for all the fish. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Gnosia, episode 7. And we ended off last episode after a notable failure with finding out that there is now a dolphin on board. So that's fun. Don't know what that's going to mean. Don't know what this character is going to be like. But we've seen them in the opening. And so I'm very curious to see what their personality is like and learn more about them. Now, last episode was a big failure despite Yuri figuring everything out. And that's an interesting, aspect to go with here. Because Yuri found out who the Gnosia were and was completely correct. But they weren't able to prove it to everyone else, and that is a notable thing. But one thing that kind of confused me, that kind of threw me off a bit, if I'm being honest, is that Yuri was very, upset by this, and aggressively upset, to the point where they were basically panicking. They were freaking out, having a panic attack, and just not doing super well, generally speaking. But this is an episode after, or maybe 2 episodes, 1 or 2 episodes after, all of this was explained to them by Setsu about what the entire thing going on with this this time loop and everything is. And I don't know if it was just the heat of the moment, but after that, it's the actual events of the time loop don't matter. The actual outcome of each loop doesn't really matter. Because at this point, Yuri's only goal should be to collect information, to find out more about each of these passengers, and fill this parasite creature, the orb thing. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. But to fill that up with the knowledge. That should be the only thing concerning them. But again, I don't know if it was just kind of a spur of the moment reaction because of everything suddenly going super wrong. But they're going to get more chances, and they know this. So them kind of going into pure panic mode like that felt a little off to me. But I will admit that's from my perspective as a viewer, knowing what the overall goal is. And Yuri knows what it is at this point. But Yuri's also experiencing this. Like, in the heat of the moment, with everything going wrong, with Rakio especially turning everything against them, I can understand that that would probably be extremely stressful and cause them to not necessarily lose track of their purpose, that's the wrong way of putting it, but to kind of like just focus on something they know isn't as important right now. I talked about it before, but the only loop that's actually going to matter in terms of the outcome is going to be the final one. And I'm sure Yuri's going to know when that is. So, that's the only one that's really going to make a difference. And yes, the more time that Yuri spent in that loop could have led to more information gathered, sure. But the information can be gathered through other loops. It's not like you're dying like some kind of horribly painful death or anything. You were put on ice. It's like, it's probably pretty painless, I would wager. And even if the Gnosia did get to you, even if that was how it ended, which that isn't how this one ended, even if the Gnosia did get to you, the pain would only be temporary, and you wouldn't even probably remember it in the next loop. I mean, you would remember what happened, but you wouldn't remember the pain exactly. So, again, maybe it's just me overanalyzing shit now, but it just feels like their reaction was a little much. So, we got introduced to 2 new characters last time as well. I don't remember their names. I've talked about this before, but I can be pretty bad with names sometimes, especially like if they're brand new, and especially in shows where there's just such a big cast that keeps growing. And so we had the captain of the ship, and then we had this like shy mute girl. Now the captain was kind of a sexist asshole. The way he talked about the shy girl and just women, and we found out that he isn't even really a captain officially anymore. Like, he's basically acting as a pirate almost. So, yeah, it seems like he's kind of instantly unlikable. But that might change. That might change in a future loop, and just in general from more we find out about him. Who knows? The shy girl is instantly the opposite. She's kind of like super likable. But again, we just don't know a huge amount about her at the moment. It's hard to say, like, when you got all that going on. Now, Rakio and Shigemichi last time were 2 of the Gnosia. I think there were 3, though, and I'm not... Oh, yeah. The other one, the third one, was the one they caught, like, really fucking easily, and that was Comet. Comet was caught, like, super quickly and easily, the first one, because Yuri noticed she was out of character, but also she said something that, like, clued everybody else in, the way she said it. So, but Rakio and Shigemichi managed to turn kind of everybody against Yuri. And there was also, on top of that, a new role, the Guardian Angel role. And this role basically allows you to save one person every night. a very good role and something you should never reveal. Um, Yuri was the guardian angel and was kind of led into and forced into revealing it. But then there was another person claiming to be that role. And so it's just like, the problem is the guardian angel like is going to be the biggest target of the Gnosia. So if one person claims to be the guardian angel, and they're already putting themselves out there. If another person claims to be the guardian angel after that, that would just be stupid. And they would automatically like put themselves at risk. No matter what, at that point, the two guardian angels would be the most at risk for being eliminated by the vote or the Gnosia overnight. And if in the case of like having both of them like claim to be that role, from my perspective, and I'm not necessarily the greatest at these social deduction games, but from my perspective, that would pretty much like be a death sentence to do, even as a Gnosia. And if there were only two Gnosia left at that point, that just feels like a dumb move. Because even if you succeeded in taking out the human, the real guardian angel, it's like you would still then need to avoid everything else afterwards to whittle down the numbers enough. Which, again, Rakio is extremely smart. They're hyper intelligent, and they know how to manipulate a situation to their advantage no matter what. No matter if they're a Gnosia at the moment or not. Rakio is probably the most troublesome member of the crew so far, of everyone we've met. And they definitely cause the most issues. Because it's not only that they're, super smart and manipulative, but they're also confrontational as fuck. Like, they are going to accuse anyone and everyone at any and every point. Whether they're the Gnosia or not. And they're going to use every form of logic and manipulation to try and prove their point. Whether they believe it or not. It's like they're only out for themselves. And I don't see them really teaming up with anyone to try to figure things out. I don't know if there's some reason from their past for this. I don't know if like they're like just completely untrusting of other people. But there's definitely something going on there. And I'm very curious to maybe learn more. Now, the last thing I'll say before we get this going is I was told in the comments for one of the past episodes that it's looking like it's going to be 21 episodes, a 2-core 21 episode series, which is an oddly specific number. Because usually 2 cores are 24 or 26 episodes. I mean, it wouldn't be the first series that does something a little different, but 21, it just feels like an odd number. Or maybe it was 22. Either way, that's an odd number. It's such a weird decision. And if that is the case, it's, I guess, still around the same. And I guess they could still, like, tell the story from it. But I'm just very curious if that's going to affect everything. Now, the person who commented this was also, like, mentioning that might be, like, that, or wasn't really mentioning, but kind of implying that there probably isn't going to be a second season to this. It's probably going to be like a one and done kind of series, to where it's like, just okay, we have this set of episodes, we're telling the story of the game, that's it. Which is fine. I'm not opposed to that. Um, there's so many shows, both anime and otherwise, nowadays that these studios and streamers and whatnot tend to push way too much. They tend to try to force them to go into so many seasons that they have no business going into, and it hurts a lot of these shows. They run for way too long. They lose their steam. It's just it hurts them in my eyes. I've talked about this before, but there are a lot of shows that I feel like would have benefited from only being like maybe 2, 3 seasons max. And there's a lot of shows that are only 2, 3 seasons max that prove that in a lot of cases is better. And like there's a great series called Gravity Falls. I'm sure most people have heard of it and probably seen it. Um, Gravity Falls is fantastic, and it's only 2 seasons, and it was only meant to be 2 seasons. It was designed to be a shorter series, but could it have gone on longer? Yeah, probably. But I feel like it would have started losing a lot of what made it great if it did. I feel like there's a point where it would start to become a little bit much. They could have maybe pushed for one more season, but I don't think it was necessary. I think having 2 seasons and telling the story and lore that they wanted to tell worked better. Um, there are some shows that should have gotten a little bit more. Like, I think that The Owl House should have had a full third season instead of what they were given. But it's a case of, like, it still should have ended with the third season. So, yeah, I just, if this is going to be a one and done single season series, I'm good with that. I very much am okay with that happening, because it'll that means it'll have told the story that it meant to tell. And as long as it's, good and entertaining and continues up this pace, then I'm fine with that. But anyway, I think we should get on to this. Our pre-thoughts are already going on long enough, for those of you who are on YouTube and seeing the pre-thoughts. um, but before we get this going, just as a reminder, we do have a Patreon. And I would be so happy if you could check it out. Link is in the description below. There are multiple tiers, and pretty much every tier gets you some form of early access. The $5 tier, for example, gives you early access to movie reactions. The $10 tier is both movies and series reactions, and so on and so forth. With every tier going up, getting a new form of early access reaction for you to check out. There's other rewards as well, such as being able to vote on exclusive polls in the future, being able to directly choose something for me to react to in the future, and so on and so forth. All of the tiers and their rewards are perfectly listed on the Patreon page itself, so check it out there. But it is completely optional. If you're unable to do it, if you just don't want to do it, that's completely fine. It does help me out, though. This is like my full-time job, you could say. So it will help me out with getting things for the channel when necessary, or the channels, honestly. And even just getting some necessities throughout life and whatnot. Like I said, this is full-time for me, so it's pretty much all I do. um, But yeah, if you can, if you're able to donate, if you're able to join the Patreon, please do. I really appreciate it. It really helps. But if you're unable to, completely fine. All reactions will still come to YouTube eventually. and so you'll get to see them at some point. But that being said, let's check out today's reaction and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So if this is the end of this loop, then that means we had both Gnosia reveal to others that they were Gnosia and get frozen right away because of it. Which would be fascinating because, I don't know, that feels almost stupid. But, I don't know, it's just, to have both of them reveal themselves, it just feels like that's a weird way for this to go. Like, we understand that Jonas revealed himself as a Gnosia accidentally. Like, it was completely on accident. But Sha Ming seemed to do it on purpose. Was he giving up? Was he just, like, rejecting continuing to play the game or whatnot? Quote unquote play the game, you know what I mean. Because again, we know that when they're Gnosia, they still retain their personality to a degree. Like, some little things might change, but they're still them after having been infected. So I'm kind of wondering if Sha Ming's personality is just so ridiculous that even as a Gnosia, he's basically like, okay, you're forcing me out of here, well then I'm just going to reveal myself and get frozen anyway. And it's like, my dude? What? And again, Jonas accidentally revealed it because of getting caught up in the moment of defeating Shigemichi at that what the fuck game. Which basically seemed like some super chess kind of thing. And it's just like, 'tis silly. You know? It's kind of a silly way for these Gnosia to be defeated. That just seems entirely too ridiculous. But that also gives us insight to their personalities for future loops. Now, we had a couple of other new characters here. First off, we had Remnin. Remnin is very shy and timid, but seems to actually open up when it comes to things that they find exciting. I don't remember if Remnin's pronouns were said, so I'm just going to try to be careful most of the time. But when things get, like, really exciting to them, something happens that they're, like, really into, like this game, then yeah, they seem to open up. But we didn't get much more from them. And then we have Otome, who is apparently a lab dolphin who has been getting intellectualized. and now has the ability for human level speech and conscious thought and whatnot. But she's still trying to like kind of figure humanity out at the same time. It's it's a really interesting addition to the crew. And on top of that, she's just fucking adorable. She's just cute. Like there's characters like this in various anime where like at first glance they don't seem to have anything more to them other than just being the cute character, the adorable character, the instantly super likable character. But then you find out more about them later on. Sometimes they'll have tragic backstories. Sometimes they're not actually that cute. They're actually really bad and terrifying. And it's like, there are so many ways they could take this character. Right now, she seems adorable. Right now, Otome might be one of my favorite characters. Because I tend to really enjoy the cutesy, overly positive, kind characters a lot. It tends to be like a personality type I just get attached to because they're adorable. And Otome is definitely one of those. But again, that could very easily change. That could very easily change. But another there were two other big aspects to this episode. Obviously, there was the romance angle between Shigemichi and Stella, which is why Shigemichi challenged Jonas in the first place, which got Jonas to accidentally reveal he was a Gnosia. Shigemichi's obsessive love in this, I mean, I don't know about other people, and I can't, like, I can't, like, even begin to, like, assume anyone else, how anyone else views this compared to me, but to me, it's uncomfortable. Shigemichi's, like, obsessive love comes across more as creepy to me than endearing or fun or cute or anything. It just, the way he acts around Stella is a little uncomfortable. And not just because he's so much. He's like too much in terms of his personality or anything. It more comes down to his, like, again, his obsessive behavior. And it just like, it just creeps me out a little. I'm not saying that he's like necessarily bad, and I'm not saying that he's dangerous to Stella or any partner he might pursue, but Shigemichi definitely seems like he's just, it seems like lust. It's not love, it's not like an actual attraction. It comes across as lust. And in this episode where we also have Sha Ming being really creepy towards Setsu, and like saying he'll only come out if she gives him a kiss, it's like, it's just like, that's gross and that's very upsetting, and I don't like that. And so then we also have to have this, which comes across as like creepy to me as well. And again, I'm not saying like that Shigemichi is a bad guy or anything. I'm just saying, like, with his personality being so much and everything, and with just the way he pursues her, it comes across as grossly obsessive to me. I don't, I feel like the episode is trying to make you like kind of root for Shigemichi here, and it's just like, I just can't. I can't like side with him here. I'm not like necessarily like saying he should be like thrown in the deep freeze for what he's doing or any shit like that. But I just need him to calm the fuck down and step back from Stella for a little bit, because he's clearly got an unhealthy obsession with her. Now, let's actually talk about Stella, because this was, I think, the most interesting reveal of the episode. Stella is an AI. Stella's basically an android. An AI android created in order for Levy to interact more directly with the other people aboard the ship. But because of the AI, Levy does have, like, or not Levy, Stella does have her own intelligence, her own mind, her own personality and depth and just consciousness. Even if that connection to Levy still exists, which it seems to, from everything we could tell, it also seems like Stella is her own person, nonetheless. And that's why, Setsu and Yuri choosing to see and treat her as human is a big deal. And this, I don't know, like, how much other people, like, think about this kind of thing, but for those who may not know, if you haven't heard me say this in any other video, my favorite video game of all time is Detroit Become Human, which is literally about androids trying to break out of their programming and become human by gaining autonomy and living their lives as they wish and as they see fit without having to be slaves to humans. So there is definitely a part of me there that very much is making the connections with this. And I mean, if you think about it too, like, there's even like the concept of Stella and this being free and no longer having to worry about following Jonas's orders after he's put in the deep freeze. And that kind of reminds me of how, like, the androids are treated in Detroit Become Human as, again, as like servants, as slaves. For the most part. There are exceptions, of course, but like most of them are treated that way. And it's like with Jonas here, it's like Stella is like following his every order and just like living to serve him, and that's because she's, an AI, like, android based off of his ship. So it makes sense that his ship would live to serve him. It just tracks. But at the same time, like, again, we know that Stella has a personality, a consciousness, an identity of her own. And so it's like, I'm very curious to see if this really, like, gets delved into past just this episode. If we get to really delve into Stella's humanity and maybe even desire to live autonomously, then that could be really cool. The themes and messages and depths of Detroit Become Human's story and its android characters is what makes that game my favorite game of all time. Like, whether you're, like, trying to figure out humanity while solving, all these murder cases and stuff as Connor, whether you're just trying to protect a little girl as Kara, or even inciting revolution as Marcus. It's like all those characters in Detroit Become Human are so amazing because of the themes and depths that they have. And I mean, you also have, like, fantastic performances from the VAs and motion capture actors. Like, I mean, you have, like, Jesse Williams as Marcus, but I'm getting off topic here. You get the point. I would really like to see that. And considering our new characters here, we didn't really get a huge amount of time with any of them. Like, we definitely had the most time with Otome. But of these three new characters, like compared to like previous loops where we got like much more time to learn about and really discover these other characters, these three are still very mysterious. And we still don't know a lot about them in terms of personality, in terms of character, in terms of their histories and backstories. We know, again, the most about Otome, because Otome was focused on the most. We know the least about Sha Ming, and I think that's intentional. Sha Ming is supposed to come off as like this, like really unnerving enigma in this episode. Um, and because of that, we know practically nothing about him. The only things that we can surmise based off of the evidence we have is that he's a dick. He's kind of just a, a gross piece of shit. And he's like a troublemaker. He might be a Chinibio, but that's kind of like up in the air. We don't know if he actually is. That was just, it was more of a joke I was making, but it's possible he could be. And we know nothing about like him outside of just those quick personality bits. I mean, even Remnen got a little more focus, a little more time to, you know, showcase their character. We got a little bit more with Remnen than with Sha Ming. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We'll have to like figure this out. But yeah, it's just, this was probably one of the weirder episodes because it felt like it was kind of breaking a lot of rules. Rules, I say, like, kind of in quotes because they're not really rules in the same way that there are rules in this. They're more, I mean more of like, oh, it's like breaking what this show typically does with its characters and loops and whatnot. Which is good. Which is good because with a show like this where you are looping over and over and over again, you want it to continue to feel fresh. You don't want it to feel too repetitive. And doing things like this is a good way to do that. This helps make it feel fresh, but also it allows for more character development, more depth, like learned every time. Like, how many loops has Stella been a part of now, and we're only just now finding out that she's, you know, an AI android? I think she's been in like what, 3 loops, and we're just now figuring that out. So it's like maybe 4 with this one. 3 or 4, I think. I might be wrong about that, but the point is, we've been with Stella for a bit now, and we only just found this out. And you know that's going to keep happening. That's going to keep happening with all these different characters. We're going to keep learning more about them. And yeah, I'm sure some characters are probably going to take more of a back seat to others. When you have a series like this, it's going to be very different from like the game that it's adapting. Because with the game, you have a lot more time and availability to showcase a lot more info. Like, you could do this even with just like info screens, reading like in-game profiles of all the crew members and stuff. You'll get a lot of information from that in an anime isn't super viable to do comparatively. Here, you don't want to just have like a bunch of text on the screen. No. You want to like showcase these personality traits. You want to be able to explain things as it goes along. And so some characters I feel are not going to get as much attention and focus as others. But I don't know exactly how many there are going to be in total. And we're only on episode 7. Well, just finished episode 7. If there's going to be like 20 something episodes, 21 or more, then we're like a third of the way through. So that's actually saying quite a bit, because that means there could easily be there could easily be a lot more that we end up learning than even I'm thinking. We might actually be able to go, if there's not too many more characters being brought in. I can't remember from the opening, but if there's not too many more after this, or even if this is the last group, then they might be able to pull it off. It depends on how it's going to go. And I'm still wondering about like the possibility of seeing Yuri as a Gnosia, because that's got to happen at some point. It just has to. I'm just very curious as to when. Now, I want to bring something up that I don't know if I've brought up before, but just to be safe, I want to bring it up now. There's a lot of shows I do on this channel where I take a break at some point during them. Whether it's like after a certain number of episodes, or after like, oh, this episode is suddenly like very big and important and it feels like this would be a good place to take a break and all. The reason I do this is simply because I want to make sure I don't get burnt out on a series. And that can happen sometimes. And so it depends on a lot of factors, like the pacing of the series and my interest in what's going on and stuff. And so it's one of those factors where sometimes I just take a little break, I watch something else, and then I get right back to it. When I take breaks like this, I try to get back to them as soon as possible. This is different than actively putting something on hold. I know this might be confusing, but hear me out. So when I'm taking a break from something like this, it's again because I don't want to get burnt out on it. And it's usually going to be pretty short. But if I'm actually putting something actively on hold, it means that I'm probably not going to be coming back to it like for quite a bit. I could give you some examples of some shows that I started but currently have on hold and haven't like reacted to in a bit. There's a couple live action shows that I've done, Daredevil and Lucifer. I've started both of those in terms of, I'm in season 2 with Lucifer and season 1 with Daredevil. And it's been a while since I've reacted to them because I needed a break from that. And right now I'm doing a live action show with Fallout, and I definitely don't think I want to do more than one live action show at a time. Because those, I don't know, for some reason take a little bit more out of me. Maybe it's because a lot of them tend to be like double length. But either way, the point is, I haven't gotten back to those other shows in a while. And definitely need to do so at some point. But that's because I put them on full hold. But when I'm just like taking a short break, like that's different. Now, some things can get away from me. Sometimes I'll intend to take a short break and then one thing or another happens and I don't get back to it for a lot longer than I anticipated or planned. That has happened. But I try to like differentiate those two things if I can. Because sometimes it's like just, oh, I just need a little bit of a break from this and I'm going to come back to it really quickly. And sometimes it's like, oh no, I need to take some time off. This is like, this is something I need to take some time away from. Now I'm saying all of this, obviously, because I've been thinking about it with this series and whether or not I was going to need to do it with this series. And I'm still kind of unsure. I feel like if I do, it'll probably be halfway through. Somewhere around the, I don't know, 10 to 12 episode mark is probably when I would do it. But I could possibly make it a little further than that. It's going to depend on how I'm feeling after each episode. And keep in mind, this is just speculation at this point. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It might not. It might start like really picking up to the point where I don't want to drop it. Because that's happened with other shows. Centaur World, I rushed through both seasons without having to even consider dropping it because I just was that invested in it. And then with like One Piece, I very, very rarely need any kind of break with One Piece. I can watch a shit ton of that without any issue because it's my favorite show of all time. But yeah, it's one of those situations where I just don't know at the moment if I'm going to end up needing a break. But if I do take a break from this, I'm going to tell you guys right now that it won't be a long one. It's definitely not going to be like a full putting it on hold situation. It will be a short break. And honestly, it'll probably just be like maybe with one thing in between, one show. So I'd like take a break, react to one other thing, and then get back to it. So yeah. Again, I can't promise anything right now, but that is a likelihood at least. But heck, like I said, maybe it'll really pick up and really start like investing me to the point where I won't want to take a break from it. I don't know. Either way, we'll maybe handle this in the future, maybe not. It's just going to depend. That being said, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode, on the new characters, on how the Gnosia were revealed, as well as Stella's reveal. Let me know your thoughts on all of that and more down in the comments. If there's anything I missed talking about that you would like to know my thoughts on, please feel free to ask. And as always with this series, if there's anything you want to clarify for me, feel free to put that in the comments as well. For now, though, thank you so much as always for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.